being held remotely and is being recorded pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's February 12, 2022 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the planning board will be conducted by a remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, the members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by following the instructions on the top of the meeting agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And per section 241-1 of the town code, except for procedural and housekeeping matters, town residents shall have the right to address a board on any item that requires a vote at a time before a board votes on that item. Such residents will be allowed as much time as the proponents of an item is permitted to have. And just so everyone knows, the way we do that is we keep track of attendees and hand raising. So we'll start with a roll call attendance. Jonathan Hankin.
I am here.
Thank you. Pedro Pachano.
I'm present.
Malcolm Vick.
Here.
Jeremy Iga is absent, Kim. Brandy Nelson is here. All right, then moving on. Form A's. We didn't have any last minute Form A's, Mr. Rembold. Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes of May 12, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Malcolm. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Jonathan, what's your vote?
Aye.
Pedro, what's your vote?
Aye.
Malcolm, what's your vote?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye as well. All right, then the next item on our agenda this evening is a site plan review for 123 Main Street. Application from Hummingbird House LLC for site plan approval for a planned change of use and site alterations at 123 Main Street, Great Barrington, per section 10.5 of the zoning bylaw. And I see that we have Kate McCormick with us this evening. Hi, Kate.
Hello, how is everybody?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having us. I'm not sure because I can't see who else is in attendance, but I do believe that there are representatives from.
I do see a Farnsworth raising their hand.
Yep, Braden Farnsworth is there, so he's also here if there's any questions. But I would just like to do a brief introduction to the project, and then we can move on from there. So the locus is 123 Main Street, which is the old gas station, the Getty gas station that we're talking about here. So there are a few kind of a little strange things than normally happens on a site plan review. So I'll set up why we're here tonight. So one of the reasons we're here is it was an abandoned use. So there really is no use on the property. So really the reason we're applying for site plan review is a change of use or an establishment of use. My client's Hummingbird House LLC is a related entity to Farnsworth Fine Cannabis. They approached the owner of the gas station, which was not easy to find or approach, but they were able to work out a lease term for that property. And their goal of the property was to give it a little bit of a facelift, just clean it up, to use it for extra staff parking. If there was a need, because I know there was always concern on if there was enough parking in that area for a cannabis store. So it provides overflow from a parking standpoint. And they're also going to use it as a business office. So there's going to be no cannabis on the property, but Farnsworth will use it to train some employees, to have business meetings, etc. I'm not sure if anybody has had the chance to go into the facility or any of the facilities, but because they're so regulated and controlled, there's not a lot of extra space to meet with staff members, to have staff meetings, to work on training, etc. So the gas station will provide that extra space. and it gave them kind of the ability. They would like to clean up that area of town. So there has been some paint that's gone on over there that I don't know if you've seen it. One of the hard parts, I think, for anybody with this space is there's a strip of land. If you look at the site plan we're using for the site plan review, since we're not really proposing any major changes, we are using a recorded plan that is at the Registry of Deeds, and it ties to a licensing agreement with the town. So the property lines are deceiving. There's an island in the front of this, which most people think is on the gas station property. It's where the pump island was. And that's actually on Great Barrington Town property. So for anyone to use this space, you have to travel over and actually use, if you will, Great Barrington property. So we met with the select board and we came into a licensing agreement with the select board that's attached in your package as well. And really, it was just a brief understanding of the fact that Hummingbird House LLC could license and use that. They wanted to fix the blacktop. They wanted to clean up that island. And they've started to do that at this point. What they would like to do is we have some mock-ups of what the building, what they want it to look like. They're going to call it the garage just so that it's pretty clear that it's not another cannabis store. Okay. So they really wanted, for licensing purposes and just to be clear, their goal is to kind of clean it up and to keep it a retro gas station within the period of the building. Okay. Period of the Getty gas station. So the proposed hours are very consistent with the hours at the cannabis store, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. And because it's mostly going to be used as overflow from the cannabis store for parking, etc. If they had any sort of staff meetings outside of hours, whether it's before it opens or after it closed, there might be limited use of that building at that time. Their goal is to revamp kind of what's there. So they want to use the retro signage. I provided some of the signage is up. They have a sign permit. Part of the licensing agreement is that they could use retrofit and clean up those signposts that are in the island that's being licensed by the town, as well as the historic Getty sign. We're showing you in the package that they're going to install solar lighting for the repurposed for the signage, and also in the island there's light posts that they're leaving and they don't function. So they've actually retrofitted those or are proposing to retrofit those with the solar lighting so that it does provide a little bit of lighting in that area. One of the main reasons for keeping that is, one, it's part of the town right of way. We also think it creates a natural buffer so that nobody drives off of Main Street into the parking lot of that area, because there's nothing really defined, no curbing at that location. The proposal does meet the master plan, because what they're trying to really do here, and the whole purpose of this project, is to improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood, to reuse abandoned and dilapidated buildings in a site, and to revitalize some infrastructure at that point. They're reusing the retro signage that's there, and they're repurposing the signage with the solar lighting. This is a lease. They don't own the property. So the current owner has to approve any major changes that they would have to do to the property. And that wasn't something that was in the kind of desire of the current landowner. So everything that we're proposing tonight, the landowner is fine with, basically repainting, cleaning up, repaving, and reusing the signage that's there. It's in a B2 zone. Again, the reason we're in front of you is because of a creation of use, I guess, change of use or a creation of use.
And Kate, what use are you calling it? Are you calling it?
It's a business office. Yeah,
Business
a business
office. Okay.
office. Yeah, in a B2.
Great, thank you. All right, appreciate that overview and the clarification on the property ownership. I think that's important to understand. I do see that someone has a hand raised, and we'll come back to you in just a few minutes, but I want to ask any of the board members if you have questions about the application here. So Jonathan, do you have any questions for Kate?
Yeah, I do, which is there is no site plan. And I don't know how you do site plan review without a site plan.
Well, there's no, so the site plan is that we've included is the current, the current survey of the plan. And since no proposed changes to that site plan is being created, we've included that as the site plan.
Well, that doesn't.
Everything's existing conditions.
That doesn't cut it because it's not showing parking, it's not showing lighting, it's showing a fence that's no longer there. It's that survey is from the late 80s. So it's like 30 years out of date. So I don't know how we do site plan review without a site plan.
Well, the only thing that's for parking, no parking has changed. There, it doesn't show striped spots on that. We can go back and add that, but the fence is the rear fence that's shown on there is still in existence, as it does wrap around as well.
And the stockade fence is not there.
Correct. I'm not sure I see the stockade fence on there, but there is no stockade fence. So I agree to that point, Jonathan.
I think the plan in the packet, this is Chris speaking, the plan is dated 2008, I think. It's not 30 years old, is it?
I think it was the late 80s. The survey?
Well, it's stamped 2008.
It says 2008.
Is it? Okay, I don't have it in front of me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you read it as 1980 and not 2008, maybe?
Yeah, January 15, 2008.
Yeah.
So it's not current though, because, and again, one of the reasons was it is not, nothing was changing. It's just establishment of use, as well as the fact that we have some of the property here as part of that licensing agreement. So we were just trying to kind of simplify and bring it for more of telling what the use is going to be and to show about the reuse of those historic items that are on the property.
Jonathan, it is a surveyed document. I recognize it's a little bit older and not 100% correct, but it is showing all the relevant extent of impervious and the location of the building and the island and the property line. So I think we could consider waiving some of the other provisions of a site plan, given the fact that it's not changing at all.
Brandy, if I were doing it, I could draw that in 2 hours. It's not a huge deal.
This makes me think of the conversation that we had when Toon Street moved over onto the parcel where the barn was. This board had like round and round conversation about prescribing parking, and in the end we just said there's plenty of space, let them park where they want to park. It was a very similar sort of review. So I guess I'm approaching it from that standpoint, Jonathan, but let's see if Malcolm has any questions.
The only questions I have to do with how clean the property is. I assume all the underground tanks have been removed and there's nothing, no contaminants anywhere. Is that accurate?
That's to the best of our knowledge, that is accurate. Again, we're leasing the property. We have no legal control other than the lease. but we have been provided information that that has all happened. So I can't provide you any other documentation, and I do not think we would get this out of the landlord.
As far as I know, all the tanks have been removed.
Okay.
The only activity limitation is that which is noted on the site plan, just sort of under the existing building.
Okay.
Is there contamination on the site?
Not to my knowledge, and I'm not sure what the existing AUL activity use limitation is for. Why that is there, or what it prescribes. But usually those things are regarding like things like parks or residential use. Certainly office use and parking wouldn't be prohibited by an AUL like that caused by petroleum.
What does AUL stand for?
Activity and use limitation. It's a deeded restriction to protect future parties.
Okay.
Pedro, did you have any questions about this application? You'll need to unmute yourself.
I have no questions.
Okay. All right. My questions were pertaining to the two things, Kate. One, you keep saying historic. Is some aspect of this building or this sign more than 50 years old and therefore historic, or are you just saying from its previous use?
Yeah, so I'm using it more in like a retro term, that nothing's been deemed historic.
Okay.
So I should say retro signage, not historic. And I think I removed any word historic from the narrative, and we changed it to retro. So,
Okay.
the goal was to repurpose, but keep it in the same style as the abandoned use was,
Okay.
just to clean it up.
And then I am not 100% clear on where the solar lighting is being proposed to go.
Okay,
I think
so-
it's the one area I agree with Jonathan, like that could be sketched onto the plan.
Okay,
What-
so that actually is on the plan. The solar lighting is actually in the island that's on the town property
Okay.
where the pumps were.
Oh,
So there
okay.
are two light poles that exist.
I see them. Okay.
They overhang like this, and they are they don't work. But to remove those lights from the island would also take a visual barrier away from traffic. So we didn't want to change that. So it's going to be a very low powered solar, because there is no electrical, and that's also on town property. The electric lights do not work. So instead of getting into a large project and having to coordinate that with the town, they're fitting them, repurposing them with the solar lighting, which
Okay.
there's specs in the package.
I did see those. Thank you. So they're downward facing lights.
Downward facing, correct. And it would be it would be slightly illuminating that curb area, that the island, which acts as a curb area for safety.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Malcolm?
Yeah, Kate, I'm looking on the Google Street View, and it shows an empty sign, probably said Getty, with the prices on it
Mhm.
at the end of the property. Is that going to remain? Is that going to?
Yep, that remains. And if you actually look at we proposed GE signs, put the signage mock-ups in your package. And so the one that says Farnsworth is actually the Getty sign. That's
Okay.
going to be put into that retro Getty sign.
What about the pricing arm on that? Is that going to remain there blank, or is that coming in?
Are those square? The pricing sign, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a
smaller,
red square.
Yeah, I think those, if you look at your the spec sheet from GE Sign, the Farnsworth, and then those two square cannabis signs are going to be placed on that as filler.
So, okay, so that top half of the sign page there, those are the signs that are going to go on that pole then.
Correct. And then the one that says parking, oh, actually, if you look at the park, this might also answer the solar lighting question that Brandy had. If you look at the parking sign that's there, you can actually see that's an actual photograph of what it looked like before my client took possession. And that's the poles that would have the solar.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Would show the parking. So
I drove right by it today, but did not register all of that. So
yeah, so those would remain and they would just be fitted with the solar.
And what about that little rundown kiosk that's sitting there?
Removed.
Okay.
yeah, that's not there anymore.
It was a kind of a safety issue. That was one of the things we agreed to kind of do right away. That was part of the licensing agreement, working with the town on that.
Okay.
Because that's in the town, that's the town right of way, or the town owned property. That's the island that we talk about.
Mm-hmm. So I got.
That's all you got? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Kate, because you're not showing any parking here,
Yes.
is there an intention to provide any kind of indicator of where parking should be? My concern is circulation. You know, when it's a gas station, there's sort of drivers are used to a gas station, you're pulling parallel to that pumping island. But as a parking area, is there any reason to leave that entire street frontage open for access? Or is there an intention to place planters there to make the access maybe at the south end as opposed to at both the north and south end?
We did not have an agreement with the town to change the access there. One of the areas we agreed to keep was that island area because of the because that booth that had the pump house had such a presence was taken down. We talked in our narrative about using some planters to provide a little softer look, but something that's visually present there. But we were not intending to go along to continue any sort of curbing there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not sure if we could agree to doing any of that without really going back to the town because.
Well, so I guess my concern is are cars going to try and pull in through that north entrance and park head in towards the garage? Because the plan you've provided us says parking area is just that larger area south of the building,
Mm-hmm.
Can we agree that parking will only occur in that area and not in front of the garage?
Yes, that's what we're doing, but so there would be no problem to agree to that.
Okay.
Right now it's just, staffing use because
Yeah,
we
I've
haven't
seen
had
how
an
they're
overflow.
parking there currently.
Yeah, so we've been instructing the staff on how to pull in and where to park and where not to. The goal would not be to block the building and park in front of the building. It doesn't really even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have no problem saying that only the south side of the building is parking. Is that
Mm-hmm. The area designated as a parking area.
parking area?
I do
Correct.
think you have to meet ADA still though and provide an accessible space.
An accessible space. Okay. That's fine.
Pedro, you'd agree? I think that's a minimum
Yes.
threshold for any use, right?
Yep.
We have plenty of room to do that.
Okay. Jonathan, anything else for you?
No.
Malcolm, anything else for you? No? Should we go through 10.5? I guess I can go through 10.5 and then before we take any action, I'll come back to Mr. Garzon. Oh, I had it up. I do have it up. Okay. All right. So under 10.5.5, just looking at the 8 items. The first one is minimize volume of cut and fill, number of trees removed 6 inches caliber or larger, length of removed stone wall, area of wetland vegetation, displace and extent of stormwater flow increase from the site, soil erosion, and threat of air and water pollution. I would say that is not applicable given there's no change. Everybody okay with that? Number 2, maximize accessibility and pedestrian and vehicular safety, both on the site and accessing and exiting the site.
I think your comments about the parking and the traffic flow address those.
And they need to provide 1 accessible space for every, it's 1 per 25. So I don't think you'll ever get up to 25 on that site.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Okay. Minimize obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations. I don't think there's any change from the existing condition. In fact, I honestly think it looks better. Number 4, minimize visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, storage, or other outdoor service areas viewed from public ways or premises residentially used or zoned. Kate, this is something we run across pretty regularly with this one. Is there going to be a dumpster outside? And any kind of dumpster enclosure?
No, they'll take their own garbage off site. You know, it's going to have very minimal waste.
So no, like office type waste or something?
Yes, yeah, just office waste.
Okay. So no dumpster.
No dumpster.
Okay. Kim, make sure you get that in the minutes. Number 5, minimize glare from headlights, minimize light glare into the night sky, minimize overspill onto adjacent properties. So there will be no uplighting.
Correct.
And headlights will go head in where they've been going head in. I think that's lower than any of the houses across the river. And there's some trees that exist there. Okay. Number 6, minimize unreasonable departure from the character, material, scale of buildings in the vicinity as viewed from public ways and places. No change?
No change.
Improve change? Number 7, minimize contamination of groundwater from on-site wastewater disposal or operations on premises involving use, storage, handling of or containment of hazardous substances. The use does not have any hazardous substances, and as best we know, that site has been remediated from its former gas station use. And it's connected to sewer and water, right, Kate?
Yes.
Okay. Ensure compliance with provisions of the zoning bylaw, including parking and landscaping. Let's see. So there's no Route 7 landscaping requirement here, right, Chris?
That's correct.
And as far as parking, the parking would be based on the square footage, right?
I think my review showed that they would need 4 spaces total.
Okay. And that space is?
1,200 square feet is the building, I think.
The building is 43 by 28. Yeah, 1,204 square feet. And they would need 4 spaces for that. And that would be easily accommodated in that large asphalt area.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Given all of that, board members, before we would take any action, is there any further deliberation that we have? Questions? No?
None here.
Okay. Then, Chris, can you give Mr. Garzone?
Good evening, board. This is James Garzone, 84 North Plain Road. Just want to say it's nice that the building is being repurposed and that blight is taken away. It looks nicer painted. But the one comment I wanted to make is I've noticed that there's increased activity on the east side of the road, people parking and then crossing over the street for Farnsworth. Now they're going to create another building and further down the block, crossing over to the package store. Is there any way we can get a crosswalk so at least people can cross from west to east without navigating through cars? And how these cars, they just don't stop. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Yeah, that's not really in our purview as planning board. But I think we have seen the same phenomena. So I appreciate that comment. My opinion.
Maybe we can make a request of the assistant town manager to pass that along.
Well, I remember, this is Chris, I remember that when this board did review the application for the marijuana retail establishment across the street, I think there was a discussion about parking and crossing of Main Street at that time. So there's definitely an acknowledgement that there was a potential issue there. There was no solution that could be mandated that the applicant take. It's a town road, and in order to add some crosswalks there would have to be a significant amount of work. I think when the town does improve this section of road, it would certainly look at adding crosswalks at appropriate locations. But it has been discussed and noted in the past. I'm not sure if there's anything that the town can do as part of this process to require that sort of addition.
If I can as well, that we take that into consideration when we do advertising, we market, and we explain how to get to the store. We suggest and we give guidance to go up to the Cottage Street to cross, but again, it's very hard to police. So we do our best when we give out information, but it's something that you can't, if they're not reading that information and taking your advice, then it's hard to fix the problem.
It's true. I've never seen anyone go up. I mean, I want them to go up and use the crosswalk too. I have noticed that the town is doing a little bit more as far as enforcement of the speed limit in that area. They've had some signage posted there the last few weeks, or maybe even going on to 2 months now, and some of that feedback signage that tells you how fast you're going and whether or not you need to slow down. So just trying to slow everybody down to the 25 miles per hour that speed limit is for there.
And this is James again. I do appreciate the 25, the signs, the speed limit signs. I appreciate that. So I see them around town. I think it makes a difference for everyone. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, board. So in light of all that we have discussed up to this point, do we have a motion to approve the use as a business use? I guess to establish the use at an existing building as a business use, and approve site plan consistent with 10.5?
So moved.
Well, should we add a condition about the parking? That the area in the building, in front of the building, should be marked as no parking, and parking should be only south of the building?
I'm fine with that condition.
And you don't need a photometric plan, even though they're lighting town property?
Given the overhead lights that are there, Jonathan, I don't know that it's really going to make a difference.
Well, it's going to spill off the property, clearly, because
you're right, it is.
It already is off the property.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, Jonathan, it's a weird one, right? Because it's existing.
I think it's great.
Property.
I think it's great what they're doing, but I think it's not a complete application.
I think it's repurposing an existing dilapidated building and not physically or materially changing any of the existing elements. And I don't know. I don't know that it rises to the same level, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying for sure. It'd be nice to see a current survey.
We don't need a survey. We just need a site plan.
Well, a current survey would provide the site plan because it would document the existing condition. All right, so we have a motion to approve with the condition that parking will only occur in the area south of the building.
That technically was not the offered condition. The condition.
So are you okay with that?
you want to say your condition again, Malcolm? I did not listen to
Yeah, I mean, it
carefully
wasn't
enough.
my motion. I mean, I think Pedro made the motion. So if Pedro's okay with that condition, then I'll second that.
Kim, are you able to read back what the condition was that Malcolm suggested?
Malcolm suggested no parking, that it be marked no parking in front of the building, and to direct the parking to the south side of the building.
To the area that's south of the building, Malcolm?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and so I think Pedro, if he accepts that.
Sure. I accept that.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do you have any further discussion? Okay, Jonathan, what's your vote?
Nay.
Malcolm, what's your vote?
Aye.
Pedro, what's your vote?
Aye.
My vote's aye. All right. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you guys very much.
Good luck, Kate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So in light of our upcoming town meeting and last month's discussion around those resolutions, I have not gone any further with affordable housing. I think we wanted to do some reviewing of that One Berkshire report. Were there any affordable or Pedro, we'll get it on the next one, housing issues that we need to raise at this moment? Jonathan?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Malcolm?
I have nothing.
Pedro? No?
I'll eagerly wait till next time.
Eagerly. Do you have sub bullets that need to be included for the agenda? So you and I can talk. Okay. Do we have any board and subcommittee updates, issues, or concerns? Okay. Hearing none. Do we have a town planner's report?
Just to note that your next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 9th, but that is the possible second night of the annual town meeting. So I suppose you could post a meeting for the 9th and hold it if town meeting doesn't occur that night. But if town meeting does occur, we'll have to bump the planning board meeting to another date. What's your pleasure? Set a different date altogether, or?
I'd rather hold it and be optimistic that we won't have 2 nights of town meeting.
And if it doesn't, planning board doesn't occur on the 9th, would you just meet on the 23rd of June per usual?
I am going to be out of town on the 23rd of June.
Uh-oh.
Pedro, you're on.
Yeah, Pedro. How's the 16th look
You
for
guys
everybody?
better get ready.
I can't do the 16th.
Is that your book club?
Yep. My
Okay.
book group is the 16th.
Yeah, I'll be away on the 16th.
You'll be away as well. Okay. Then yeah, we're probably looking at one meeting in June then.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
but as it is,
Is there anything
we'll-
urgent though, Chris?
No, there's nothing that I know of pending. So if we meet, whether it's the 9th or the 23rd, we'll try to bring up some of these housing items again. So everybody, please do your homework, and Brandy and Pedro and I will talk a little bit more about what to put on that agenda.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it as always. Citizen speak time. Do we have any citizens who wish to make any comments? Please raise your hand and Chris will unmute you. All right. We'll give you guys one more minute. Anybody out there? See, there are 7 attendees. So if you want to raise your hand and make any additional comment, please do so. All right, hearing no public comment for citizen speak time, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:39.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Recording
Bye.
stopped.